There are a lot of simple yet effective strategies and tips to consider when sitting down to play Ticket to Ride. Stick around and find out how you can bring your game to the next level here on Legendary Tactics. Ticket to Ride is a fun, light game that at first blush seems straightforward enough. However, when digging a little deeper, there are definitely some patterns that will lead you to a greater likelihood of outlasting your opponents. Let's examine the best 13 tips now. Tip number 1. Choose tickets you think you can finish. This seems straightforward enough, but when selecting, try for one long ticket and one short ticket. Ideally ones that are going to line up and connect to each other in some way. Take your time with your opening picks, as these are really going to set in motion your play for the arc of the entire game. If there are no tickets that accomplish this, don't be afraid to take two small tickets if they link with each other or are potentially part of a longer ticket you can get down the road. Worst case, if you end up with nothing that really connects nicely, plan on drawing more tickets early and try to find connections that will add to what you've already kept. Tip number 2. Don't pre-plan your routes too heavily. Your opponents can block you way too easily and will potentially cause you a lot of challenges and detours if you do this, so please beware. Claim critical routes first. Look for the spots on the board that are absolutely critical to your ticket completion and play into those as fast as you possibly can. Tip 4. Don't forget about the importance of blocking others if it's possible. You will need to keep a close watch on your opponents. Pay attention to where their eyes are shifting and drifting to when it's not your turn. This will often give you a sort of tell as to what they're planning and where they're planning on going into. If you notice this, block as soon as you can and cause them some extra grief. Tip 5. Don't be afraid to draw ticket cards early. This is especially true if you draw on routes that are not ideal or are needing some better connection points. Doing this can greatly add to your point total at the end if you score some good supplementary connections which complement what you already have in hand. Yes, there is a risk of getting nothing that adds, but if you've got suboptimal connection points, then give this a consideration. Tip number 6. If you're stuck waiting on certain colors, don't be afraid to drop them and start new makeable routes instead. A classic mistake of players is to get tunnel vision on certain colors and keep as much flexibility in your color combos as you can. Do your best not to let a particular color hold your train play up. Tip number 7. Pick up locomotives when possible instead of relying on lucky draws from the draw deck. Take those wild cards when possible. Remember the saying, a bird in the hand, as in this case it is particularly true. Tip number 8. If you are trailing, consider the Hail Mary approach. If you're feeling like you're getting outmaneuvered, draw your 3 tickets and hope for a route that you've already completed or are nearly done completing in that draw. Tip number 9. Control the choke points. Connecting back to point number 3, this focuses more on a mid-game strategy action. If there are particular areas on the map where a lot of action is happening and there's a lot of trains building toward, don't be afraid to claim a critical track route that may actually force your opponents to have to detour or spend extra trains to get around where you've blocked. Point number 10. When possible, draw from the top of the deck instead of what's available. It'll keep your opponents unsure of your plans. It also keeps your opponents a little more in the dark around which train colors you're searching for or needing, and will also keep the revealed train deck a little more static. Before getting to the top 3 tips, please don't forget to comment below on tips, strategies, or game arcs you find effective. We'd love to hear from you. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel as well. Moving on. Tip number 11. Collect colors your opponents are passing on. If you notice that a certain color is a plenty on the drawboard, start picking them up. They can really pay off for a longer route connection down the road if you can accumulate enough of them. Tip number 12. Select tickets that already exist within the completed tickets that you have. This one kind of goes without saying, but when drawing new tickets, if there are routes that you've already built in previous rounds, focus on those. Even if they are worth a little bit less, some may be even automatic completion if you get lucky enough with the draw. And finally, tip 13. Concentrate your routes on the main cities that appear in more routes. If you can stick to the main, larger cities in the center of the board, you have a better chance of finding better connection options when drawing new tickets. So consider this as an option and try to stay away from the periphery of the board as best you can. Will all these strategy tips be able to be used in every game? Probably not. But if you work in a number of them each time you play, it will definitely have a solid impact on your final score, and hopefully will propel you to mastering the game board. This has been Legendary Tactics.